Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is the Agency Arms Sig P320. This is aftermarket work done on the Sig P320 by Agency Arms. I want to make that clear. Another thing I have to make clear in this video, of course, is I have been sponsored and still am sponsored by Agency Arms for the better part of a decade now. Because I believe in the work they did, and that's how the relationship came to be. So I don't want you thinking this video is a review, because it's not. It's just some really excited information about the work that Agency does on the already good Sig P320. This particular gun is all the bells and whistles. I wanted a full size with their gavel package, with a comp, with the AOS optics cut. So I got a lot of cool things going on. I never intended to conceal carry this gun, although I might try it. And of course it's got a flared magwell, which generally when it comes to carry guns, I don't mess with flared magwells. Reason being, flush floor plate. If there is a malfunction, it gets a little bit harder if you have to strip that magazine out of a magwell. Yes, there are techniques to do it, but I'd rather just forego that issue. But on duty guns, or open carry guns if you will, I don't see any reason, especially if you're going to run SIG's 21 round mags for the P320, to not run that flared magwell, because there's some definitive advantages to having one. Now, aesthetics aside, really the only thing aesthetic about this gun is the multicam black. Everything else serves a purpose, from the armor stipple to the AOS modular optic system, which allows me to do irons forward or irons rear, depending on which plate I get. Plates are made out of steel. I've done a video specifically on the AOS system if you want to check that out, but it's definitely one of the best aftermarket, if not the best aftermarket optics system out there. If you're not happy with the OEM system, or the OEM system for whatever gun you carry, Agency Arms might offer AOS milling for it. And it gives you the option in irons forward, irons rear, whatever optic footprint you're going to use. It's going to be a really good, solid, really strong mounting system. And then I went with the 419 compensator. They used a full-size frame with the shorter slide with the gavel package. So I've got a compensator that's tool or screwless, I should say, toolless installation, and it tracks in the dust cover during the cycle of fire so it doesn't come untimed, and it performs really well. Shoots any ammunition I put in it. The big thing, though, definitely worth mentioning, definitely worth talking about, some of you may have already noticed it, is the trigger. One of the complaints, or one of the concerns people have had with the Sig P320 in the past is drop safety and the trigger behavior, that relationship there. Well, the Agency Arms trigger has a trigger safety similar to what you'd find on a Glock. You have an internal, like an active safety there on the trigger, which has to be disengaged before the trigger press can be completed. So the trigger cannot physically be manipulated without interacting with that trigger safety, which is kind of the whole purpose of the trigger safety, which is, at the time of filming this video, Agency Arms is the only company that offers that. And it's a really cool addition to the gun. If you have a P320, I'd recommend just dropping that trigger in there. There's nothing wrong with the performance of the OEM 320 trigger. They got a couple different variations. They're all really good. This is just better. One of the most appealing things about the P320 is it kind of harkens from some of Sig's previous guns, is the fire control unit is the firearm. So I can disengage and remove the trigger fire control unit package, put it whatever frame I want, made it with whether slide, come up with some real kind of gun Lego type stuff. Agency Arms does do some aftermarket work to that fire control unit. One of the first things you'll notice is that kind of color, that rose gold color. Well, that's not there for aesthetic or shiny or blingy purposes. It's actually just the standard color of a coating called, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Variantic. It is a very, very hard coating, which increases the overall friction resistance to scoring or damage, and it maintains lubrication a little bit better than what you'd find with just traditional coatings. Now, as far as replacing parts, clearly it's Agency Arms trigger with their trigger safety system. They also change out the return spring, the sear spring, and high polish overall the fire control unit. So you're not losing a lot of OEM parts if that's something you're concerned about, but you're gaining a great deal of performance. And again, not a review, this is just my opinion, but the whole reason I've had a long relationship with Agency Arms and will too in the future is I believe in the aftermarket work they do. Nothing wrong with stock guns, but aftermarket guns and aftermarket modifications wouldn't exist if OEM did it right every single time. So if you're looking for an edge on some of the performance aspects of your gun and you have a Sig P320, I would definitely look at some or just all of the offerings that Agency has for that family of guns. Definitely another way to put that is if you have a Sig P320, you need agency to do work on it. You definitely should pursue it. I like the 320 a lot. I like a bunch of different guns, and I generally don't get emotionally involved with guns. I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, this brand is the best and everything else sucks, and I'm not going to try to, you know, question your masculinity or your intelligence based on the brand you choose for the most part. But the 320 is the first gun that's come around in a long time that seems like the ergonomics were put exactly where they needed to be for my hand size, and that is a factor. Some guns are just a little less comfortable to shoot or a little slower to shoot when it comes to the overall manual of arms, be it magazine release, slide release, trigger, if it has a manual safety, manipulating the manual safety. The 320 is the first gun to come along since the Beretta 92, where it seems like they, like I said, they put the magazine release and they put the slide release in the exact right place for my hand size, grip size relationship, and of course trigger reach and trigger placement and finger placement on that trigger was made very, very comfortable based on the grip angle, grip swell, and all those factors. So it's a really good Goldilocks type fit. I just wanted to see if I could get a little bit more peace of mind out of the overall performance of the trigger. I wanted something that had a little bit more of a crisp feel to it. Again, nothing wrong with the factory trigger. I just like this trigger better. And I also like the fact that even though I probably likely wouldn't ever need it, they added another safety feature without going overboard with it, of incorporating in that trigger safety. Now some of you ask, well, you can get the Sig with a manual safety. I'm like, yeah, you can, but I don't want that. I want this. So this is what I got. So if you are a 320 guy, definitely take a look at the offerings that Agency Arms has for that particular package, and I think you might find that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the performance you can get, either having them work up a whole gun for you or just purchasing the trigger, if nothing else, or an FCU from them once they're more readily available. Right now, this is filmed early 2020, parts availability is killing everybody. So what isn't in stock may not be for some time, and that's unfortunate. Once we start digging our way out of the, what are we in, the third or fourth ammo and parts panics, hopefully you're watching this from a time in the future where you're like, what are you talking about? 9mm is $159 a case again, and there's triggers everywhere. I can't wait to catch up with you in the future there, where everything's going at least back to normal as we can possibly get it. But I wanted to put this video out there just to let you guys know, because once I posted, I did have a few questions about what they're doing and what's different and why should I bother. So this is my little informational only, not a review video, on the Agency Arms family Sig P320. I'm Aaron Count with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.